All right, so hopefully you guys are just excited about this as I am. We are basically launching a brand new version of our options class in a couple of weeks. I forget when it starts exactly. We'll talk about that later today. But we're launching a brand new version of our options class. And here I'm going to show you a little bit about kind of what we've been up to and what we're doing, right? Which is some really exciting stuff because we've built a lot of really cool new technology. So there's some pretty significant improvements that we've made. All right. So today we're going to talk about getting started with options trading. I'm going to basically walk you through a couple things. Here's our agenda for today. First of all, I want to give you a link to this presentation. All right, so here's a link. I'm going to put it inside the chat so you guys can follow along if you'd like to. There's a bunch of stuff in here, so maybe you might want to do that. There's a link anyways if you want to do it. All right, it's in your Zoom chat. So first, I'm going to give you that. Second, we're going to go over who's on this call. I want to get to know you guys a little bit first before, talking about kind of us and what we're doing. All right. I'm going to take you through a little introduction about our company and kind of what we're up to in general. Here we're going to talk about why do we want to do algorithm options trading. There's a lot of advantages to doing this. Specifically when you're trading options, even more so than trading stocks or crypto, there's a huge advantage when you're using algorithms. So we'll talk about some of the advantages and why this is such an exciting field to be in right now. I'll show you some of our latest strategies. I have a couple of ones I've pulled up here. We've been doing a lot of recent research into this stuff. There's some really cool stuff out here. So I'll show you a couple of them, but there's a bunch more in development, some that I can't talk about, some that I can, but I'll show you the ones that I can. All right. Then I'll show you guys some live demos, right? This is recorded from a while ago, kind of just watching these things actually trade live, right? In case you want to see that. And then we'll talk about the full course. If you guys want to really learn how to code all this stuff, build all of it, we have an entire class just dedicated to getting all that done. So we'll talk about that, right? I also have a time for questions at the end. That doesn't mean leave questions till the end. It's actually a lot better if you guys are asking questions throughout, right? Because then we have a more interactive presentation, and I think everyone gets a lot more out of it that way, right? It's we do these live for a reason, right? There's a reason why this is live and you're not just watching a recording. It's a lot more, you can get a lot more out of it, right? I'm going to repost the link to this presentation again, just because we've had a lot of people join. This is quite an active class today. This is awesome. All right, so I'm going to repost that link again, just in case you didn't get it because you joined a bit later. Okay, so that's our agenda. Let's get it kicked off now. So let's learn a little bit about you guys. Please tell me a little bit about yourselves, right? So if you could type out into the chat, what is your occupation? Do you know how to program? Have you ever coded anything in your life before, written Python code or JavaScript or anything like that? And then how much investment experience do you have? Have you been doing this for a while, or are you brand new to investing, right? So tell me a little bit about yourself. I will tell you a little bit about myself. Sorry, what was that? Sorry, I heard something there. So I'll tell you a little bit about myself while you guys get a chance to type this out and write this. So my occupation, I'm the CEO of Lumi Wealth. I've been basically running this company for the past 4 years. We've grown it a lot over the past couple of years. I'm seeing some people here that have been on our mailing list and part of our community for a number of years. So you guys have seen really a lot of progress, I hope. We've gone from doing very, very basic things to really now making some pretty incredible algorithms. We're starting to talk to a lot of different banks. There's the Jamaican Stock Exchange is one of them that we're talking to. There's a few banks in Canada. We're reaching out to a few more banks across the United States and Europe. So we're actually going to be providing a lot of our algorithms to these people as well. We're also doing a fundraising round very soon. We're raising almost $1 million to kind of make this stuff even easier to use. Every year, we want to make it easier and easier and easier to make algorithms. So we've really been focused a lot on that. Yeah, so that's my occupation. That's what I do, is making sure that our company does well and makes you guys happy, right? Because that's what actually matters at the end of the day. Do I know how to program? Yes, I do. I've been coding for something like 25 years almost. It's been a long time. I was very young when I got started. I am by no means, getting older, but I think I started like when I was like 10 or 12 years old. I started coding back then, and it's kind of just been my life. I feel like I can code better than I can speak English in some ways. So yes, I know how to program. I've been doing that for a while. And then how much investment experience do you have? I think I started investing somewhere around 2005. So what is that, like almost 20 years of investing experience? Made a good amount of money, not just for myself, but for family members and friends. I've been basically advising people and managing money for quite some time now. Made my family, my mother, a millionaire, right? Made us pretty well off, my wife and I. So definitely have a lot of experience in this field. I've been doing it for quite some time. I also have a master's in finance. I worked on Wall Street for a number of years, and now running obviously this company. All right. Cool. Okay, so that's myself. Well, enough about me. Let's read about you guys. All right. So you posted, there's quite a few things in here. So I'm going to read them off. So Mark says, retired, not a coder, 40 plus years investing experience. Wow, that's fantastic, Mark. I'm sure you've seen your share of things. Anurag, welcome. My name is Anurag, a software engineer with 15 years experience in IT. That's fantastic, Anurag. You don't have to be a great coder to build trading algorithms, but it certainly does help. I've found, honestly, building trading algorithms takes more finance experience than it does take software experience. But software engineers, I find, tend to do very well in this field because you guys spend a lot more time doing this. So welcome on, Anurag. That's awesome. Roberto, longtime trader and going systematic for the last year. My Python level is intermediate. I've never traded options, only spot products. Very cool. Roberto, I think you're going to find some of the things that we're doing today very interesting, because options can allow you to do some very, very interesting things when it comes to risk reward metrics. And I'll show you a couple of those today. I think you'll find it very interesting. Adding option to the mix can be risky, but if you're doing it correctly, you can make a lot more money with a lot less risk. Fred says, self-employed, no coding experience, trading for a few years, stocks only. Very cool. Welcome, Fred. That's awesome. Again, like I mentioned before, I think a lot of the stuff that you do with algo trading, it involves a lot more about finance than it does about coding experience. So if you have a lot more of this trading experience, I think that'll be very helpful. Warren says, hi, software engineer until 2 years ago, drone pilot, sheep farmer now. That sounds pretty cool. I like that transition there. I'm new to investing, would love to learn how to automate some trades while flying my drone or managing the farm. Very cool. That sounds like a very good endeavor there, Warren. I love that. Rajat says, self-employed, can code if needed. Very cool. Welcome, Rajat. Jeff Larson, welcome, Jeff. Hello, how's it going? Trader for a few months, decades of coding experience, mainly options lately. Very cool. For those of you that don't know, Jeff is actually in some of our classes already. So welcome, Jeff. Ganesh says, new to options, but know how to code a lot. Very cool. I think you'll really find some of the stuff that we're doing today interesting. Because again, there's some really interesting things you could do with options specifically when it comes to code. Patrick says self-employed, no experience. Okay, welcome, Patrick. Hopefully you can learn a few things today. We'll teach you a couple of things that hopefully improve some of your knowledge and get that interest going. Warren Cameron says to add, I'm also learning code in Python. Very cool. That's very useful, Warren. Python is fantastic for doing all this kind of stuff with finance because of its data science potential. That's why we do all of our stuff in Python as well. So very cool. Welcome, Warren. Narendra says, self-employed trader, software testing experience. Welcome, Narendra. Very cool. Again, a lot of software engineers today. Is fantastic. I think you guys will really like some of the things we're doing. Options tend to be a little bit more difficult to code. So those of you that do have program experience, I think you'll be able to do some really cool stuff. Douglas says, working engineering as a CAD engineer, very little programming, took Fortran class, Waterloo. Oh, very cool. Welcome, Douglas. Yeah, that's awesome. Waterloo is actually just down the street from where I am, maybe an hour drive, maybe a little less. I haven't been there for a while, but very smart people that come out of Waterloo. So you must be a very smart cookie, Douglas. I went to school in the area too. Actually, I went to McMaster and then I went to Schulich, if you're wondering, at York University. Yeah. Um, cool. Patrick says, want to keep it quick. Apologies. Haha. Thank you, and really happy to be here finally. Welcome, Patrick. Very cool. Stephen says, and Stephen, you wrote this to me directly, but I'm assuming you meant to write this to everybody. Stephen says, retired financial advisor with an IT background 20 years ago. Very cool, Stephen. I think you'll be able to do some pretty killer stuff when you apply that tech skills to your financial advising abilities. You know, the two things really mesh together very well. Douglas says, starting MSB in analytics this fall at the University of SC. I'm assuming that's South Carolina. It's very cool. That's a very, very valuable thing. I think you'd be learning a lot of stuff about Python and data science. A lot of things we'll be talking about today too. Very cool. Awesome. All right. One more person here, Avinish. Hey, this is Avi. Tech project, product or program project management, coded until 2011 in C#, trading options, mostly spreads on Thinkorswim, looking into trade automation quick and in and out to avoid overnight holding risks. I think you'll like some of the strategies I'm going to show you today, Avi. Just because with options, you could actually really reduce your risk in very intelligent kind of ways, right? So very cool. So I'll show you a couple of things, and also you having that experience in C#, I think will be very valuable too. So awesome, this is great. We have a really good group here. You guys seem all very smart. You really know your stuff. A lot of people with coding experience, I think more than usual. It's fantastic. I think you guys will love some of the things that you could do with code when it comes to trading options specifically. And a lot of people with trading experience too. I think we have a fantastic group today. So welcome, guys. This is very cool. I'm excited now too. Yeah. Okay, cool. So let's do a quick introduction. I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but just to kind of give you a little idea of what we're up to. I've already told you about who I am. You know, I've been coding for 20 plus years. I worked on Wall Street for, I think, almost a decade in New York. Helped start a company called Voyager. We took that company from basically zero to worth $3 billion at one point in time. So it's pretty fun. After that company, went off to start this Lumi Wealth, and we've been working on this for the past 4 years. So what is Lumi Wealth, you might ask? Well, Lumi Wealth, our focus is really to help people improve their investment returns, which a lot of companies out there do, but we want to do this specifically through using technology, artificial intelligence, and data science. I'm a very strong believer that AI and data science are taking over the world in a very meaningful kind of way. I think they're going to be, they already are, they're even more so going to be extremely powerful technologies in the future. You know, I think, and maybe controversial opinion here, but in the future, AI is going to be doing more and more things that we do. I wouldn't be surprised if one day it'd be illegal to drive a car manually without like an AI running it. And I think there'd be similar things happening inside the financial field, right? I think right now already it's kind of bizarre when people are trading manually. I speak to people, and a lot of stocks that they buy or options that they buy is really based more on emotion than like actually thought out reasoning, right? Whereas when you build this stuff with software, with AI, you can actually get a lot better reasoning behind this. You can back test things. You can actually make strategies that make a lot more sense, right? Instead of, oh, I think this should happen, or I feel this way, you can have a lot better, a lot more thought out process around buying and selling these different assets and different ways of making money. All right. So that's what we're focused on at Lumi Wealth, is really using technology to help improve investment returns. And we strongly believe in that future. And, you know, so far it's been coming true quite well. Yeah. If you want to follow us on YouTube, here is our YouTube channel. We actually have a shorter link than this. Let's see if I can get that shorter link for you. There it is. Here's our YouTube channel. Check us out. It's free content, right? So you can see a lot of our strategies in here. You can see our free classes. You can see demos of some of our strategies. I need to add more to this. These are some of our older ones at this point. We have a lot newer ones that I'm going to show you today. But nevertheless, there's quite a few in here. We have interviews with a bunch of people in the field. For example, I have an interview here with John Ewing, who runs a $600 million hedge fund. Recorded that with him a little while ago. Cliff Frazier, someone who runs a $200 million real estate company. Some people in the crypto space. There's a lot of really interesting interviews here, so if you want to check them out. Then we have testimonials from past students. If you're interested in hearing kind of what people thought about our classes that have gone through them, there's a lot in here. There's a mix of people that started with coding experience, that didn't start with coding experience. You know, we really pride ourselves in being able to take in any people from any background and really bring them up to speed in this kind of stuff. Of course, if you already know how to code, it's going to be easier for you or going faster. But that doesn't mean if you don't know how to code, you can't get into this stuff. We've had a lot of students go from zero to building some very incredible algorithms in just a few months. So, you know, definitely don't be intimidated if you don't have coding experience. And not to mention all this new AI tools that are available to help people with coding can really, really speed up that process. Again, I've seen people go from not writing a single line of code to building some very impressive algorithms like 3 months later. And a lot of that is due to AI. So don't feel intimidated if you don't know how to code. If you do know how to code, I think you'll really kick ass. But if you don't feel intimidated by the space, because that's what we pride ourselves on, to really bring you guys to the point where you can actually build these things. All right. There's also a couple other videos in here. You could check them all out. Either way, lots of free content, some good stuff on our YouTube channel. While you're there, don't forget to, I sound like one of those YouTube people. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that bell button, because when you do that, you get our future videos that come out later on. So you get a lot of our content going forward. We do a lot of stuff like YouTube shorts and that kind of stuff that I think you like. So you get that content from us, and you get a lot of free stuff too. We're planning out some free things coming up over the next little bit. So I think you guys will really appreciate that. All right. So that's our YouTube. We also have a Discord channel. For those of you that don't know what Discord is, again, I'm posting all these links, by the way, inside of the Zoom chat if you guys want to get to them. But our Discord channel is basically this here, right? This is where our community lives, right? Like if you want to interact with anyone else in our community, anyone taking our courses, anyone using our technology, people have taken our courses in the past, our alumni, they're all in here. It's very active. We're not one of those things that you go in and like it's chirping all day, like or there's crickets. There's a lot going on here. So for example, here's one of our classes. It's our live algo hour class. We've been discussing different algorithms over time. Here's one that we made recently, for example, trading versus QQQ. Returns are pretty good. These are returns for the strategy, right? The blue line is the strategy, yellow line is the S&P, right? Like we have a lot of conversations here. Here's like an AI bot that we're working on in one of our classes. This we're not going to talk about this today because it's trade stocks, but nevertheless, this is a very cool one as well, right? It did was it 300% over a 7-month time period? Not bad. Some of these bots, we go through them, we'll get really good results at the beginning, and then we want to test them a little bit more thoroughly. But if you kind of want to know what we've been up to, you want to get to know more people in the community, you want to see some new algorithms we're building, this is the place to be. There's lots of discussions around this stuff. And it's free, right? So feel free to join in and check out what we've been up to. There's different channels. Actually, here's a live algo hour channel. We have like our alumni channel. We talk about different things here. A lot of our alumni in here. We have our, what else? We have private channels for each class. I want to show you one other one here. Our Lumi bot development. If you're interested in our open source library, Lumi bot, want to learn a bit more about it. We've been going back and forth here. There's actually a lot of people working on this now, which is very cool. Our tech just keeps getting better and better and better. I feel like we're starting to snowball into something really, really cool here. So anyways, that's our Discord channel. Feel free to join us there and you can see what we've been up to. Okay. Cool. And then also just a quick reminder, please, if you have any questions, ask them throughout the presentation. Don't wait until the end. It's a lot more interesting when we have an interactive presentation and we go back and forth instead of me talking at you. Let's have a conversation, right? There's a reason why we do this live, right? Okay, so before we jump into this stuff, let's talk a little bit about algo trading and why we find this so interesting, right? So first of all, if you look at the biggest hedge funds, the most successful hedge funds in the world right now, people who really know how to manage money. People manage, billions of dollars. We're talking about Ray Dalio, we're talking about Jim Simmons, we're talking about Ken Griffin, we're talking about all these really big money managers in the world. They're all starting to go towards automation, right? They're doing a lot of stuff with data science. They're doing a lot of stuff with AI. It's very, very prevalent. And generally speaking, they're building trading algorithms to automate what they're doing, right? So let's talk about a few examples of that, but there's really lots of them. Like the whole, just like the rest of the world is changing. Like back in the day, it was like, oh, you run a tech company. Nowadays, it's like everything is tech. Like if you run a company that doesn't have tech, you're at a disadvantage. It's very similar in the hedge fund world now as well, right? So if you take a look at some of these things here, computer's freezing a bit. Here's a couple of hedge funds that are just notable, right? So one of them, Renaissance Technologies, run by someone called Jim Simmons. Very interesting character. There's a really good book about him that you could check out here. I'm going to share the link with you inside the chat. A very interesting book called The Man Who Solved the Market, because that's basically what he did, right? I actually have the numbers in here wrong. I got to update the numbers because he's done more than 39% a year. But Jim Simmons, really interesting character. If you read this book, you'll learn more about kind of his background. Really, really interesting. He's a mathematician. Started, I think, in like the 1980s or 90s, something like that. He had the idea. He's like, well, computers like a new thing. It was back, I think there's like pre-Windows, right? Like even before Windows existed. He had this idea. He's like, well, computers can do things so quickly and process mathematical equations so quickly and without, or can trade theoretically without emotion. What would happen if we took all the mathematical models that we're doing and if we applied them to stocks, right? So we started a hedge fund called Renaissance Technologies back in the day, in like the 80s, and it took them a while to figure it out. I think it took them like a year or two before they actually were starting to make real profit. Mind you, this was a long time ago and it was very hard to do this stuff back then. It's much easier these days. We provide you with a lot of tools. There's AI to help you, all that kind of stuff. But it took them about a year or two before they started like making some decent amount of profit. But once they figured it out, they really started making an insane amount of money. These guys were literally, getting 5-6 times what the stock market would earn with a lot lower risk. And because of that, they're getting these astronomical returns. They started getting a lot of attention, a lot of investors, and they started making a ridiculous amount of money very quickly. There's these funny stories in the book, like this one of the guys that worked at the hedge fund, he basically made so much money, he became like this multi-millionaire. He bought a house in like this reserved land somewhere in the US. He wasn't supposed to buy a house there, he didn't know it at the time. And they get to notice from the government, whatever, a year later or something. And he's like, and it says, you have to move your house or you have to do something about it because you're on a piece of land that's owned by the government. It's reserved. And he's like, what do you talk about? He didn't even know he had a house there, right? It was like a multi-million-dollar house. And he just completely forgot about it, right? And this is just one guy that worked there, but basically they all ended up getting super rich. Jim Simmons, the owner, ends up now, he's now one of the richest people on earth. He's on the Forbes list. If you look at him, he's like number 30 or number 40 on the Forbes list. It moves day to day, but very, very rich individual, did very well for himself. This is his story. This is how they put together a hedge fund and kind of what they went through. Very good book. Definitely recommend reading it if you're into this kind of thing. All right. Last time I checked, they're running about 110 billion in assets. I think that's probably double that now. I looked at a figure somewhere that was like almost twice the amount. They're growing quickly, if you haven't noticed. I have a number here, 39% a year. It's actually higher when you actually do the research into Jim Simmons. He actually makes closer to 66% a year. It's hard to get the data because they went private at some point. But if you listen to interviews with him, it's closer to 66%. And back in the day, that's kind of what it was as well. Either way, 39, 66%, they're both extremely high. And actually, if you compare that to a lot of other like superstar investors like Warren Buffett, Ray Dalio, or whatever else, this guy is smoking all of them. Like if you're comparing Jim Simmons to Warren Buffett makes somewhere around 20% a year. This guy's making 66% a year. He's making triple that of Warren Buffett. It's crazy. He's doing very significant things in the market. That's why they call the book The Man Who Solved the Market, because he might actually be the best investor in all of history, to be quite honest with you. There might be some other people that, just don't have like their track record written out as much, or weren't as good at raising money. But definitely out of all the large investing, gurus kind of thing, or investment managers, I think he has the best track record out of any investment manager in all of history. And that including Warren Buffett, including Ray Dalio, including all those people, right? And just to kind of tell you, what does that mean? Some people that don't have a background in finance, they'll look at, a 30% or 66% return, and they'll say, okay, well, my friend made 1,000% last year buying some crypto coin, right? And it's like, okay, well, first of all, right, how is he doing now, right? You might make 1,000% in 1 year. If you can do that year after year, please speak to me. But that's highly unlikely, because people that tend to make those kind of returns in 1 year, they tend to blow up their entire account the next year and go to zero, right? This guy's been making 66% a year after year for 30 years. And over time, that compounds like crazy. It's not that you get 3 times more money. So you get 3 times more money every year for 30 years straight. And that snowballs, it grows. Like if you ever do the math on compound interest, it's incredible. What was it? Einstein said compound interest is the most powerful force on earth. And it's true. If you actually do the math of it, it's crazy how quickly this money can grow. So here's an example. If you put $1,000 in the stock market, waited 30 years, right, you'd end up with $17,000, right? The stock market does about 10% a year. Let's say at 10%, right, turns into $17,000. That's pretty good for doing nothing, right? Like you just put your money away and put your money in, walk away. You go from 1,000 to 17,000. It's made $17,000 just for waiting, right? It's great. But now if you took that same $1,000 and instead here, this is at 39% was the calculation. But as I said, I think Jim Simmons does actually quite a bit better than that. But even at 39%, if you took $1,000, you put it in to Jim Simmons' fund, assuming it was making 39%, you wouldn't end up with 17,000. You'd end up with something closer to $24 million. It's a very sharp difference, right? This is the difference between you retiring and being able to afford whatever kind of place versus you retiring, 15 years early with a Ferrari kind of thing. Like it's a huge difference, right? Being able to increase your returns, they say even 2% can have a very significant impact on your life later on, right? So compound interest, increasing your investment returns is super, super valuable, right? So I see here, Douglas says, I've got the book. It's fascinating. Absolutely. I definitely agree with you, Douglas. Very cool. Okay, cool. All right. So we have, and then Avi, I see that you post a link here. I don't want to get too distracted going through this. I don't know. Maybe you could tell me what's in this link that you kind of want us to take a look at. I just don't want to disrupt the presentation too much, but so let me know what you're trying to get at inside that link. Right. But yeah, so Renaissance is top hedge fund managers. I'll click on it. You got me here. So top hedge fund managers, annual 3-year return. Yeah. So these guys, yeah, Michael Burry, there's a lot of people making this. This is only 3 years though, right? This is a very short time frame, right? Here you're seeing Arcus Capital Partners at the top. The annualized 3-year return is 69%, which is very good, by the way. I'd like to see how he did over the past 30 years, right? Because that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about a much longer time horizon, right? Either way, these guys definitely seem like they're doing very well either way, right? Yeah. Yeah, it's still impressive, to be honest with you, to do 69% over a 3-year time period. That's still very, very good. But in this case, we're talking about a much longer time horizon, right? It's one thing to do, 50% a year for 3 years in a row. That's very difficult to do. But to do it for 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years in a row, that is like superstar level, right? And that's what we're talking about here, right? Cool. Okay. So you see that there's a bunch of hedge funds doing this stuff. There's a lot of like empirical evidence behind it. Like really all the big hedge funds are getting into this stuff or already are in it very heavily, right? But kind of like theoretically, right? Why do we want to trade options using algorithms, right? Well, first of all, options are complicated. The math can be done for you automatically, right? So I don't know about you guys, but I've a bunch of times where I'm like, you know what? actually, funny enough, 2 weeks ago, I'm thinking, I should buy some put options, right? The stock market seems to have gone up so quickly, right? And put options are so cheap, I should just go off and buy it. And I have this reminder on my phone. I remind myself every day. I'm looking at my account. I'm like, but what do I sell? And what price do I buy the options at? What expiry? It's a complicated decision. And it's something that, we can automate very easily. And really, we shouldn't be thinking about that kind of stuff because that gets emotional and you're kind of making these silly decisions, right? If you could automate that, then it just happens for you and you're good to go. And not only that, we could back test it as well, right? So options are complicated. The math, we can do the math automatically using algorithms, right? Second of all, you can trade even when you're away from your computer, right? So a lot of times you'll find a good opportunity. Maybe you're a trader, maybe you spend a lot of time doing this stuff, right? And an opportunity can open up, but you might not notice it, right? Because you're off doing something else. You're doing your day job, right? You might be on a vacation somewhere or whatever, right? And you're just not paying attention, right? Whereas if you have an algorithm that's constantly paying attention to this, you can find opportunities even when you're not doing anything. You could be on the beach somewhere, and this thing could be finding good trades for you, making you money. So definitely a huge advantage there, right? That you can be away from your computer. Another thing is that you can back test your strategies. For those of you that don't know what back testing is, basically it's simulating your trading, right? So it's saying, what if I used this exact strategy over the past 2 years? What would have happened, right? Would I have made money? Would I have lost money? What trades would I have placed, right? That's what a back test is. And I'll show you a couple today, actually right after this. Basically simulating the trading. This is what would have happened over the past 2 years. And this can be very, very informative, right? A lot of people, they don't do this sort of thing. They just say, well, based off of what my friend's saying or whatever in the news, or a lot of times, again, a gut emotional feeling, they'll trade something, right? Whereas instead of doing that, what you can do is you can take your strategy, simulate it over the past 5 years, what would it have done? And then you can really find out, is that a good idea or not? Right? Because a lot of times what I've noticed is people have these ideas that are just not a good thing to do, right? And that's very obvious when you take it and you back test it, right? A back test can't tell you for sure that this thing's going to make you money in the future, but it can tell you pretty well if it's not going to make you money, right? And inform your decision on what is probably the better way to go, right? So we're being a lot more empirical about this, and we're really being more thorough. Instead of using emotion, we're actually using mathematics to figure out what was the right thing to do, right? Was this the right thing to do or not, right? Or tweak it or improve your strategy. Even if you have a good strategy, right? Something that works really well, there's still ways to make it better, right? So that's what backtesting can do for you, okay? Next point is it takes emotions out of trading. We're talking about that, right? So instead of gut reactions, you have a computer, you have a calculator way of doing this. If you speak to any of these really good investment managers or watch YouTube videos for that matter, right? All of them are very calculated. Like if you ask them, why did you buy the stock? They didn't say, oh, because it felt good, right? Or because this company was great and I really like whatever. No, they have like this criteria of things that they go through and they're very calculated about it. And that's how they make a lot of money, because they're not doing on gut feelings, they're doing it off of real strategies and real mathematics and things like that will make an impact, right? Okay, and the last thing, and there's more advantages to this, but on the list here, is that you could trade several strategies at a time, right? So when you're trading, especially options, something as complicated as options, right? It's very difficult to keep all the stuff in your head at the same time, right? Like if you have 3 or 4 different strategies, like I don't know about you, but that's a lot of work. It's very difficult to keep track of all that, not to mention emotional biases between each one of them. But that's what you should be doing, right? You should have different strategies so you can diversify, right? You'll have one strategy that does really well in one situation. You have another strategy that does really well in another one. You have another strategy that does really well in another one. Maybe some crypto ones, some Forex ones, whatever, some options ones, right? And you can mix it all up. And this way, if anything goes bad, you're not going to lose money across the board, right? Because you have one strategy that does well, other one that doesn't, and you balance it out. Okay, and if you actually look at these companies, I got to know someone pretty well from 2 Sigma, one of the founding members of 2 Sigma. He actually wanted me to start a hedge fund with him back in the day. Ends up 2 Sigma has very good lawyers and they didn't let him do it. But in these conversations, I learned a lot about how they do their operations, right? And Two Sigma at any one point in time is running 30 or 40 strategies at a time, right? So it's not like there's one super algorithm that's doing everything, right? You have 30 to 40 different algorithms, and there's this big computer at the top that's managing all of them, that's playing puppeteer, right? And that's the way that you really want to be doing your trading. So you don't have all your eggs in one basket, right? Ideally, you have, 3 or 4 strategies that each make like whatever, 50 or 100% a year, whatever your metrics are, right? And, that could be kind of risky if it's just one, right? But if you have 3 of them and they're doing different things, well, maybe one of them doesn't do well this year, but the other 2 pick up the slack, right? So you end up having a much lower risk and a much better chance of success, right? And you can do that with algorithms, and doing that manually is going to be very, very difficult, right? Okay, so we've gone over that. You guys are probably wondering, what are some of these things that we've been developing, right? So let's get into that. Let's show you some examples of this stuff, right? Okay, so I'm going to show you a couple of strategies that we've been developing lately. Most of these we've built in the past like 3 or 4 months. We've, as I mentioned, really, really improved our technology over the past few months. We've made it so much easier to back test this stuff. We now have data providers that come in. A couple of years ago, this is really, really hard to do. These days, it's gotten a lot easier. So we've been developing a lot of really cool option strategies. So let me show you a few of them, right? So here's one. We call this Congress trading, okay? Basically, what it does is it takes a look at members of Congress, right? So meaning, the Nancy Pelosi's of the world, right? And the rest of them, right? And basically checks to see what they're buying and selling, because legally they have to report this to the government, right? If Nancy Pelosi bought Microsoft, she has to tell people that that's what she did, right? It's illegal for her not to do that, right? Now, she might not tell them immediately. You have like a few days to let them know. But either way, we still know, we have a pretty good idea of what Congress is buying and what it's not, right? So this algorithm is watching that, right? It's watching what companies are members of Congress buying. Keep in mind that these are people that have, you could argue that they're insiders, right? Because they know things about companies that you do not, right? They'll know if some lobby group is going after them about something, or if they're about to pass a law that's going to really screw over Microsoft, right? Like they know the stuff that you don't, right? So they have a huge advantage. Now, we have a stock trading strategy that does this, okay? And it does very well, right? It outperforms the S&P 500. It makes sense, right? Because you're, instead of following the S&P, you're going to be following Congress members, and these people, again, have these insights that you don't, right? But we've taken that same algorithm and we've modified it to work with options, okay? So this is how, this is what the results look like, right? Actually, before that, how do we modify with options, right? So the stock trading strategy basically looks over the past month, and if there's been more than 4 members of Congress that bought a stock, we will buy it, and we'll hold it for a month, right? So it's fairly short term. It's kind of a medium term strategy, right? So yeah, and we've tried different time periods and all that. We're able to back test and optimize around that, right? But then, if you're just trading stocks, you still do pretty well. What can we do with options, right? So we started playing with this in one of our classes. And basically what we did was we made...
This is actually my idea.
Yes, it was actually. Yeah, that's absolutely true, Jeff, for sure. I've actually, you can take a look at this. This is now in the algo trading class. If you take a look at this, this is actually been improved upon, right? So I spent some time today improving on this algorithm a little bit more, right?
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so so what it does is it buys the call options whenever there's enough members of Congress that have bought a stock. So say in the past month, Nancy Pelosi, Mitt Romney, and 2 other people, they all bought Microsoft, right? Okay, so Microsoft's on a radar, so we're going to buy Microsoft. We're going to buy call options in Microsoft, okay? At the same time, what we're going to do is we're going to buy put options on the S&P 500, okay? Meaning that we're not just betting that Microsoft is going to go up, okay? We're betting that Microsoft is going to beat the stock market, okay? And we're putting a bit of leverage on that, okay? These are all small positions. They're only like 3% of the portfolio each. They're fairly small, so you don't have like a big chance of a loss, right? In either case, right? But we have these put options also to protect you. So even if the stock market's going down, right? Like you'll see in this case, the stock market's going down, we're still making money, right? This is a market neutral strategy, right? Doesn't matter if the stock market's going down or up with the strategy, you're making money either way, okay? And furthermore, when you buy these put options, right, we're betting that Congress is basically going to have a better insight than the rest of the stock market, right? That they're going to be able to outperform. And that's exactly what happens here, okay? So here's the blue line. This is our strategy, okay? Right? You see that we're pretty much just trending up. There's a little blip here that happened, right? And I think that we can improve our risk management even further to improve on that even more. But even with that, we had this incredible rise. You see, the stock market this entire time, it was going down for a while and it was going up for a while. You see, when it was going down, we were still going up. And then when it was going up, we were still going up, right? It doesn't really matter if the stock market's going up and down, we're still making money, okay? How much money did we make over this time period? This is from January of 2022 until about like a week ago, I think, or maybe even last week. I don't remember exactly where, yeah, August 17th, right? So what was that, Thursday or something, right? So over this year and a half, it made 48% over that time period, whereas the stock market lost 8%. So we're beating the stock market by 60% over the past year and a half. Or in other words, if you're to say this is our CAGR or our annualized growth rate, right? So per year, so this is 48% over a year and a half. If you annualize that, it's about 27% a year that it was making over this time period. And this is a time period when the stock market was down 5% a year, right? So imagine when it's up, right? We don't have enough data to go back too far. I ran this, I wasn't able to get it up fully with the latest stuff, but when you go further back, it actually does even better because the stock market was up before, right? So really good strategy, makes tons of money, has a very good Sharpe ratio here for those of you that care about Sharpe ratios. The Sharpe ratio is a 0.48, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it's always in the context of what time period it is, right? So over this time period, the stock market had a negative 0.43 Sharpe ratio, whereas we had a positive 0.48, so beating it by a large amount, right? We don't have, our max drawdown is a little higher. This is because this big blip here, but I think that we can do some risk management to avoid that. It just owned a lot of options at once. We can kind of max it out so it doesn't take on too much positions. But basically did really, really well. You can go through here and you can see all the details of it. You see 22, the stock market was down a lot. We were up a lot. This benchmark is the S&P 500, so it's the stock market. So we did a heck of a lot better in both years, in 22 and 23, right? You can go back here, monthly returns, and it's pretty consistent, right? Like there's a couple months I lost money, but not very many, right? For the most part, this thing is up across the board. So because we're taking on that long short position, we're buying call options and put options at the same time. So we're market neutral and we're able to make money no matter what. So very cool strategy. These are kind of all the trades that are placed here if you're interested, right? This is, our cash positions. You can see that our cash dropped quite a bit here, which is what I'm saying. We can do some better risk management. We can improve this algorithm further, I think. And that's why it's so cool to do back testing, is because you can see what happened in the past. You can actually tweak it and make it better, right? So when you run it in the future, you have a much better chance of success, right? Okay, cool. So that's that strategy. I'm going to show you two more, right? And then we'll watch a video of like how this stuff happens live. Here's another one. Here's a strategy that was developed again, but in one of our classes is one of our students' ideas. We run this class called Live Algo Hour is what it's called. It's every Tuesday, $200 a month. If you guys want to join it, let me know. It's on our website. Really cool class to be a part of because basically we're coming up with new algorithms every week. Every week we come up with a new one, right? So here's one that we came up with a couple of weeks back. And this is by one of the students. Ganesh asks, where do you write code? You write code inside of an IDE. So I'll spend most of my time writing code inside of Visual Studio Code. right? This is all open source technology. You're not pinned to any like website, whatever. A lot of other websites out that do this outside of us, they'll try to get you to be forced into a specific thing, learn a specific language, and just only do that. We're very much against that. We're all open source, so you could basically code wherever you want to do it, right? Roberto says, I thought you did in Replit. You can do it in Replit. You could do it on your computer. You could do it on AWS. You could do it on Google. You could do it on Microsoft. You could, anywhere that could run code, you could run this stuff. It's very versatile. It's open source, written in Python. So you could do it really anywhere, so it's very, very open-ended, right? Okay, so thanks for the questions, guys. Good questions. Okay, so here's this strategy that was envisioned by one of the people in our Tuesday class. And basically, he had the idea of, what if we could sell put options, but only sell them when the implied volatility is very high? For those of you that don't know what that means in terms of options, implied volatility is one of the option Greeks, and it basically tells us a lot about how an option is going to behave, right? So an option, for example, that has a high high delta moves a lot when the stock price moves. So if I have an option on Apple, for example, the delta of 1, if the stock price moves by $1, it's going to move by about $1. If it has a delta of 10 or something like that, then it's going to move by $10 every time that Apple moves by $1. So it kind of gives you an idea of how much this thing's going to move. That's delta. Then there's gamma, which is another one on that. Then there's, rho and a bunch of other things. But in this case, we're doing implied volatility, which basically means it's how much people are expecting the stock price to move, right? Now, a lot of people use implied volatility to trade stocks, right? So you'll take option implied volatility, and that gives you an idea of like how much a stock is going to move, and you could actually use that to trade things, right? But in our case, we're using implied volatility really just to make money, right? Like what we're doing here is, if we're saying when stocks have very high implied volatility, that means that people are very nervous about this thing and they're willing to pay big premiums for options, right? So we're going to take advantage of that, and we're going to sell them put options. We're going to make a big premium here. It's a bit of a risk, right? But as you can see here, pays off quite extraordinarily, right? The blue line is this strategy that I'm describing right now, and the yellow line is S&P 500. It just dwarfs it. Like it looks like the S&P barely moved at all compared to what we did here. Over this time period, I did this over the past year. If we did this over a longer time period, you get similar results. Although the past year, admittedly, has had more of these high implied volatility stocks, so there's been more opportunities in the past year. But basically, over the past year, you can see just rocket ship, right? Our cumulative return, or basically how much money we made over this past year, is 159%, and that's versus stock market, which is about 7%, right? So just extraordinarily higher than the stock market, right? Our Sharpe ratio is a 1.7 versus S&P, which is a 0.1. You can see our max drawdown wasn't even that high either, right? We didn't lose that much money at any point in time. It's really just kind of heading up, right? It was only 8% loss versus a 17% drop in the S&P. So we're making a heck of a lot more money, like a lot more money than the S&P, and we're taking on less risk. So this is fantastic, right? We still want to play around with this algorithm a bit more to learn more about it, but you could see that when we're using options to do this stuff, it's a lot more interesting than just trading stocks, right? When you're trading stocks, do you want to buy a stock, do you want to sell a stock? But when you're trading options, you could do all these like fancy things, right? Like you can use more leverage, you can protect yourself against downside losses, you can do all these really interesting things. And now if you're trading this manually, that's hard to do, right? Like you need to pull out your Excel spreadsheet and calculate this stuff. Like, believe me, I've made those Excel spreadsheets. I did my master's in finance. I worked on Wall Street. I've built plenty of those spreadsheets, and they're not simple to build. However, if you do this in Python code, it's a lot easier to write that code than it is to do in an Excel spreadsheet. Believe me, I've done both. I spent weeks building Excel spreadsheets, and I spent maybe 3 hours building this. It's a very big difference in time. But then also you get a chance to back test, you can tweak it better. There's all these like really interesting things you could do, and it will automatically execute it for you. You don't have to pull out your spreadsheet, punch in the numbers. You just run your strategy and it just automatically figures it out, buys it for you, buys the put option, buys the call option, sells the put, figures out what strike prices. All that stuff is done automatically, unemotionally, very quickly, and without you having to do anything. Right. So very, very cool stuff here. Right. Okay, so that's two of them. I'm going to show you one more here. I can't tell you too much about what this one does because it is for a client. And I know he doesn't want us telling people about the strategy, but it's complicated enough that I could talk about it from a generalization and kind of show you what we've been up to here. So this is his strategy. It's, from a very general standpoint, it uses like support and resistance to trade, right? I'm not going to tell you too much more than that. But basically, here's the blue, right? That's our strategy, how it's done. The yellow is the S&P 500. You can see this is only over, what is it, 2 months, 1 month? Yeah, over a 1 month time period. So it's fairly short. We're still improving this thing, right? But you see over a 1 month time, it made 30% in a month. That's pretty extraordinary, right? Can it do that month after month? We're still exploring all that information, right? But so far, we're getting some very, very good results. And again, this is because we're using back testing. We can figure out what happened in the past because we're using options, and we can do some very interesting things with that. And because, we're using algorithms to automate all this stuff, right? So we're able to do these very interesting things like this, right? It uses zero DTE options too, if you guys are into that kind of stuff. Super risky, but if you do it right, you can make a crazy amount of money doing this stuff, right? Cool. So that's this strategy here. I wish I could tell you more because it's very interesting, but I just wanted to show you kind of some of our preliminary results, right? So, okay, so those are a couple of our strategies. That's some of the stuff that we've been working on, right? I hope you guys are as interested as I am because they're very, very cool things. It's one thing to trade stocks. It's another to trade with options and all the things you could do with it. But yeah, so that's kind of some of our strategies that we've been working on, and we're building a lot more very quickly. When we run this course live, we're going to be building a bunch of strategies in that course too. I'll tell you more about that soon. But very, very cool stuff. All right. Now let me show you a little bit about how to trade this stuff live. You see these strategies actually like working live. Here, there's two strategies I could show you. I'll show you one, and then I'll take a vote and see if you guys want to see the second one because they're both kind of saying the same point, right? But here's two strategies. One's going to be a strangle. The other one's going to be a bear call spread. You guys, if you trade options, you should have heard of these already. They're pretty common option strategies, right? A strangle, basically, actually, I'm not going to tell you about it because the video will tell you about it, right? You could see basically how we set up the strategy, kind of what it does, and then you'll see it actually trading live. All right. So let me play this video for you. All right. And let me know if you could hear the sound because I know I sometimes have to change a setting. So let me know if you can hear the sound or not. Right.
So now we're going to have a look at a option strategy being executed by Lumi bot. This is the long strangle strategy. There's a link in the presentation. You can go look at it on Investopedia for a full description. This graph here shows the profile. Basically, we're going to be buying a call and a put. It's designed to take advantage of a big swing in price in the underlying. So I'm going to go through reasonably quickly here and just have a quick look at some code. This is the code that's going to run the strategy. It can be found on our GitHub site, and it's under strategy examples. It's a strangle strategy. Here's a description of the strategy. We initialize our variables. These are the stocks that we're going to use. All of these are going to be customized to the specific strategy, and you can set it up any way you want. I'm not going to lie, when you do option strategies, it's a little bit more work than when you're doing trading just sort of stocks or doing an RSI or simple moving average or something like that, but it's worth it. Every option strategy is going to have a trading pairs dictionary. Trading pairs dictionary is going to be keeping track of all the detailed information that you need to keep track of for the strategy. If I scroll down real quick here, you can see there's a helper function to build it down here. LumiBot works in life cycles. There's this starts off with the before trading Before starting trading life cycle, this is where we're going to set up the initial dictionary. Not going to go through this here. You'll learn about this in the course. And then when you get into the iteration, this is where we start selling and buying. We always sell first, try to raise cash if we need to, when we're long anyway. And so here we're going to just point out something, sort of specific to this strategy. We look for the price move here. And then what we do is we compare it to the threshold that we've set that we're willing to take our profit on. For this particular example, the threshold is really low because I want to make some trades. And then we create orders and submit the orders by liquidating our positions. When we set up the initial positions, we do it here and create positions. Just going to point out a few key things here. We're going to buy all the prices. We'll get all the prices for the underlying and for the calls and puts, put them in our dictionary, and we'll use those for our analysis. We will be looking at the information from Yahoo Finance, getting the ticker information. It's very helpful for us. Try to get the days to earnings and try to find out if it's too close or far enough away that we can make the movement. Here, we're going to do some sizing. You can see here, we're going to create some sizing based upon the overall position in the portfolio. And you'll see that when we execute the strategy that all the different pairs are roughly equally sized. And finally, we create our options and our puts, and we're ready to start trading. So now we've hit go and we're ready to start trading. And LumiBot's going to go into motion. I'm doing a paper trading on an account with a $40,000 budget, even though it says 250,000 in the paper trading account there. We have a maximum number of trades of 4 trades, so we'll have 8 positions altogether because they're in pairs. And you can see LumiBot's going through the process of doing the analysis, finding out which pairs are best to be purchased, and then it goes ahead and purchases them automatically all by themselves. I'm not doing anything at this point. On the right-hand side, this is Interactive Brokers trade workstation. If you're not familiar with it, it's a old tried and true trading station a lot of people use. And when we're using our program, we have to interact with Interactive Brokers directly to do the options trading. Now, there would have been a bit of a time lag in there. I've kind of edited out sort of the waiting time for the next iteration. But you can see here that it sold some positions and is buying some new positions and putting them on for the strategy. I'm going to wait one more time. I think I sell out a little bit more and reduce the number of positions here. Again, there was a bit of editing out, a blank time waiting for the next iteration, but you can see it all runs smoothly and automatically. And this is what you're going to learn how to do when we get into the course together. We're going to teach you how to build these algorithms. If you have trading strategies for options, we'll teach you how to codify them and how to run them and how to do them in LumiBot and trade with Interactive Brokers.
Cool, awesome. So that's an example of that's an example of a strangle strategy, right? So you see that basically you make money if the stock moves in either direction, right? So you see that you make profit if it falls a lot or if it goes up a lot. So you're kind of trying to bet on movement in a stock in general, as opposed to just up or down, right? There's another strategy here. There's a bear call strategy. I could play it for you guys as well if you want, or I can send you a link and you can do it on your own time. But here's another strategy that we could watch live, right? Basically, it's able to, I'm actually not even sure what a bear call does. So, maybe we'll play this. Let's see an example of a bear call strategy as well, right?
We're going to go over a strategy called the bear call spread. The bear call spread is a long short strategy using calls. It's anticipating that the underlying is going to drop in price. And you can see here in this chart, you go short a call at 220, you get the premium for that. You're going to go long at 230, it's going to cost some money. The idea here is that the underlying will drop in price and you will get a profit of 235, and you'll also limit your losses should the underlying go up in price. Now I'm going to show you LumiBot. I've written up this in code, and LumiBot is going to trade a number of securities on the bear call spread. On the left side, you're going to see the logouts to screen of LumiBot trading. On the right-hand side, you have Trader Workstation. You can see the securities popping up as the orders are placed. When it settles down for a second, we're going to have a look at one of these. I guess we could look at Airbnb right now. You can see here, for example, the short call is at 150 and the long call is at 157.5 as per the bear call strategy. we have a number of criteria selecting which stocks are going to get selected. We'll teach those in the course on how to do that. You may have your own ideas and algorithms that you want to trade. They're all customizable using the LumiBot strategy in Python code. So here, what we're going to get is the initial stages of the strategy is just about finishing up. You can see the simulated trading notification on the bottom right is showing all the completed trades. For this particular execution, we were only using 10 units or 10 contracts per underlying, so short and long. And I did just right now, I just did a clip of some time waiting for the next iteration. And you're going to see LumiBot's going to be calculating which of the underlyings it wants to sell and get rid of and close out the trades on, and establishing new positions. When you do the course with us, you can have your own ideas that you want to trade. You're going to have, you're going to have inspirations that you're going to want to create algorithms for. LumiBot is built to handle options and a wide array of other securities, including futures contracts, Forex, and stocks. We can also do a number of back testing with LumiBot as well. This is an example of the bear call spread. I hope you enjoyed it. And maybe you'll be able to attend one of our courses one day, and we'll see you there. Thanks.
Awesome, very cool. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. It sounds like you enjoyed the videos because you guys were asking me to play this. It's very cool. I'm glad you guys enjoyed the first one, and hope you enjoyed the second one as well. But yeah, this is another one of our instructors, Neil. He's not with us anymore because he got a job at like a big fancy hedge fund. And basically they paid him a ton of money and said, you can't work anywhere else. So he's not teaching for us anymore, but he did help build a lot of these strategies. And he, if you buy our course, especially the self-directed, you're going to watch the stuff by him. The next version of this, which is starting soon, is going to be taught by myself. And we're adding a lot of new features to it as well. So there's going to be some really cool things coming from this. A lot of this back testing stuff is brand new. We're adding in more brokers. We're doing a lot of really cool stuff too. Yeah. Okay, cool. So we've gone through all that stuff. So let me tell you guys about the options trading course, because we've been alluding to this for a while. I'm going to put this into the chat. Okay, so questions here. So Rajat has a question. So question one, where are you getting the data? So it depends on how this is done. So when it's trading live, we're usually getting the data from the broker. So in those two times that you just saw there, we're getting it from Interactive Brokers, and they give us the data. Interactive Brokers is the name of a broker, right? They're actually like one of the biggest brokers in the world. Almost all like major hedge funds use them, right? Yeah, so we get it from them during live trading. If we're doing back testing, lately we've been getting the data from Polygon, which is fantastic because it gives us 2 years of minute level data for free for options. I challenge you to find that anywhere else on the internet. Anywhere else on the internet, you'll be paying like $1,000 for that information for one ticker, whereas Polygon gives it to you for free for 2 years. Crazy, right? So that's where we get it from, and that's how we do our back testing and our live, right? And then number two, do you have Algo available for general use? I'm not sure what you mean by that, for general use. All the stuff that we do is written in an open source library that we've developed called LumiBot. We've been building this thing for 4 years now. It's gotten quite good. We're getting a lot of people even getting involved in developing it. So yeah, it is general use because it's not tied to any platform. You're not forced to pay anything for this. It is all basically available for free through this LumiBot platform through the code, right? In these courses, we'll teach you how to use it. But if you're, if you feel comfortable, then you could even try to do it on your own. I would say most of the time when you try to do this on your own, I think you'll notice that even if you're a good coder, there's a lot of stuff that you need to be able to do, right? Being able to manage your risks and things like that is very important. And then we also have a lot of strategies that you can get from us that we'll be giving to you. So yes, Rajat, so how much does it cost to use LumiBot? LumiBot is free. Okay, LumiBot is completely free. Our courses will teach you how to use it, but to use LumiBot itself is absolutely free, right? And will remain free. Yeah. Awesome. Cool. Okay, so I will share this link one more time just in case into the chat. So if you guys want to follow along, here is our full course on how to build these types of things. All right. So if you want to learn how to build this stuff, if you want to learn or if you want to get access to a bunch of our algorithms that you can use yourself and run yourself, then this is the place to go. Right. Here's our algorithmic trading course specifically on options. We have a bunch of other classes at Lumi Wealth. If you're interested, we have classes on algo trading. We have classes on crypto. We have classes on artificial intelligence for trading. We have a bunch of other classes. We also have this live algo hour, which has been very popular lately, where we're building a new algorithm every week. A lot of cool stuff out there. But today I'm going to tell you about this options trading course, which is basically what we've been talking about. Right. So there's a whole spiel about why you trade using options, all that kind of stuff. But I'm going to take you through the course curriculum and tell you basically what you'll be learning in this course. It is an 8-week long course. We've divided it up into 3 parts. Okay. Part 1 is going over the fundamentals, right? So week 1 will be basically setting up your computer, going through all the details on how to do this, give you all the materials and things that you need to know to get started with the course. Week 2, we're going to talk about options fundamentals. We're going to talk about what a call and put option is, what profit payoffs are, and we'll even talk about these different types of strategies where you combine things and all that, right? Week 3, we're going to go deeper into this, and we'll talk about more of the typical strategies, callers, straddles, strangles, covered calls, all the different ways that you can make a profit with options. And not only are we going to do that, but we're going to show you ways to do this in code, so you can actually look at the payoff. And you can see, you can calculate, okay, how much money am I going to make in each scenario? And it's actually really cool. We show you lots of really cool graphs on how to really figure out what is the optimal way of doing this for different types of strategies, right? We'll also talk about option Greeks, which I kind of mentioned just now or earlier today. Theta, delta, gamma, what else? Implied volatility, IV. All these things, we're going to talk about what they are and how you can use them in your trading to be a lot more successful. Because any really good option trader, for those of you that are here that have a lot of experience with this, everyone's using these things, and it's very important to know them so that you can actually make better decisions when you're trading options, right? Okay, so that's part 1, the first 3 weeks. Part 2 is going to get into how to actually run these strategies and how to back test them, right? So in week 4, we're going to show you how to run these things live on a broker, right? We're going to be doing it with fake money, so that, don't worry about, something happening in your account or whatever. It's going to be with fake money, right? And we'll go through this in a broker. We're going to be doing this on interactive brokers. We're going to talk about how to actually connect to your account, how to run these trades, and you actually see a strategy that's running live on your account on week 4, right? On week 5, we're going to talk about back testing. We'll show you how to back test options. Again, LumiBot, we've added a lot of new features to this. It's so much easier to do now than it was back in the day. It's actually incredible. That's why we're able to produce all these really cool new algorithms. Like all the algorithms, this algorithm I showed you earlier today with Congress, I made this in about 2 hours, okay? This one I made in about 3 hours, right? This one's been taking us a little bit longer, but that's because it's fairly complex. It's been a couple of weeks. But in general, it's become very easy for us to build and back test these options strategies, right? So you're going to have a huge advantage here when you join in, and you're going to be able to see how to do all that stuff, how to get data from Polygon, how to back test it, how to interpret the results, all that kind of stuff, right? That's week 5. And then in part 3, week 7, 8, or 6 and 7, okay, we're going to be doing, these are special days, okay? On weeks 6 and 7, especially if you join our live classes, these are very open-ended, right? So in weeks 6 and 7, you have the option of either going through a strategy that we already have, and I can explain to you how it works, and we could try to tweak it and improve on it, right? Or we could build a strategy from scratch, and you'll basically watch me create a strategy from 0 all the way to being built. So that means if you have a strategy in mind, if you've been trading options for a while, you've been doing something that's been doing well, or you just have like a hunch about something, or you want to try something out, week 6 and 7 is when we're going to be able to do that, right? You tell me what to do. I'm gonna be there coding, and you're gonna be telling me what to build, right? So by the end of week 6 and 7, we're probably gonna have 2 new algorithms, most likely, or 2 tweaked algorithms, right? and we'll be able to use those, and you'll be able to take those and trade them, do whatever the heck you want to do with them, back test them, improve them, run them live, make money with them, whatever it is that you want to do. The code is yours, and you'll be able to use that as well, right? That's in week 6 and 7. They're really cool classes, by the way. These are my favorites to run. It's really cool building strategies from scratch and discovering new things. It's a very, very cool thing to do. All right, so that's what we're going to do there. And then week 8 is a little bonus. We're going to show you how to do some futures trading as well. So I'll show you how to build a future strategy, how to back test it, how to run it as well. So if you're interested in futures, that's another really cool asset type. You could use the strategies for that as well. All right. Throughout this entire class, you're going to get access to a lot of different option strategies. So even if you don't feel like learning how to code, or you don't really want to code that much, you can literally just take the ones that we have and use them, right? If you want to do that. But of course, if you want to improve on your skills, this is going to give you the best way to do that, right? Right. You're going to get a lot out of it, right? Okay, cool. All right, so what are the plans and how would you actually join this course? Okay, well, we have 3 different plans. Actually, we have 4. I'm going to talk about one more after this, right? We just added a brand new plan. It's like a monthly subscription that some of you guys might prefer, depending on what you want. But we have a self-directed plan, a live classes plan, and then a project help tutoring plan. Okay, they all build on themselves. Okay, so everything from the self-directed plan is in the live classes plan. Everything from live classes plan is in project help, and just adds to it, right? So starting with our most basic plan, it's our self-directed plan. Okay, this basically gives you access to our videos, gives you access to all of our code, gives you access to our community, and gets you a lot of support as well. We spend a lot of time helping people with this. We do one-on-one calls. If you're stuck somewhere, you're trying to build something, book a one-on-one call. We'll get on that and we'll help sort any of that out, help you build your algorithm, or help connect to your brokers, or whatever you need help with. We'll be able to do that for you in our self-directed plan. It's very, you're watching the videos on your own, right? You're playing with the code on your own. But if you need extra help, we're there for you. You can either contact on Discord, or you can get on one-on-one calls, and we'll spend a lot of time supporting you in the self-directed. The step up from self-directed, the next step is our live classes. This is definitely our most popular plan. Most people end up going for this. And why do people end up going for this? Well, it's because it's live, right? So instead of watching videos, you're going to join in. I think these classes are, I want to say, on Sundays, right? I think they're going to be on Sundays at the same time as we did this today. And basically, you're going to join this class live. And the advantage of that is, first of all, it's going to keep you on pace. A lot of people really like that whole pacing thing. But second of all, if you need help throughout, you could actually share your screen. You could turn on your microphone. So just like how we are on Zoom right now, if you guys want to, you can turn your mics, you turn your camera, you can share your screen and be like, hey, I don't get this. It's not working, right? You can do that, right? That's the whole advantage of being live, right? You can ask questions throughout. You're like, well, I don't get this. This isn't working. It makes it much, much easier for you to learn this material and actually be able to build these types of things, right? So live class is definitely our most popular, and people love these things, being part of our classes, right? This class is going to be taught by me. So if you're wondering who's teaching it, it's yours truly, right? Okay, and then you also get even more support with the live classes and that sort of thing too, right? And then our top tier plan, if you really want to knock this stuff out of the park, this plan's been getting a lot more popular lately. It's our project help and tutoring plan. So basically, you get everything from live, you get everything from self-directed, meaning you get all of our code, you get all the videos recorded live, you get to join the classes live, right? You get a lot of support. And then on top of that, you're going to get really the white glove treatment, right? So if you need to pick a time with speaking to someone, myself or anyone else, you're going to get priority treatment. You're going to be one of the first people that we get on the phone with, and we will spend as much time as we need to with you. And then if you need help from some of our engineers, we have a development team that actually builds these algorithms. If you need some help building an algorithm, we could actually do that for you too, right? So we can get our software engineers involved, help build this for you, give you lots and lots of support, and really make sure that you hit that mark they want to hit, right? Okay, so the pricing for these 3 plans, you might be wondering, our self-directed plan, and this is our lowest tier plan. There's actually a tier lower than this now that we have, which is our all access plan, which is a monthly fee. Actually, maybe I'll walk you through that first because that's the lower price one, right? Because then we could go in succession, right? So you could join our, actually, no, I'll come back to that because I'll ruin the surprise, right? But okay, so our self-directed plan, this one, if you want to join our classes, is $3,000 approximately. Approximately 2,995. There's 3 and 5 month payment plans available, so you do not have overtime. And this comes with lifetime access to all of our videos. That includes future videos that we record in the future. You'll also get access to those, right? You'll get lifetime access to our code. And again, that's also code that we make in the future as we build more algorithms, as we improve our technology. You're going to get access to all that in the future too. You're going to get access to our community. You're going to get a lot of support, right? And then you're also going to be able to join our discussion hour during that, right? Okay, then there's our step up from that, our live classes. This is 4,995, $4,995. There's 3 and 5 month payment plans available for that as well, so you don't have to pay it all up front. Basically includes everything from self-directed. Also, there's 8 weeks classes. 8 weeks of classes are live, right? So you're going to join live in these classes and really get a lot of help. You get 8 hours of dedicated live Q&A. So if you need to book those one-on-one calls, you can get a lot of them. That's, 12, 30-hour sessions. So it's quite a bit of help if you need it. You get access to all future videos and code. So not only do you get to be part of this live session, but when we run the next live session in the future, you'll also be able to join that again for free. You can retake this class as many times as you want, and you get access to all those videos forever into perpetuity, right? You're going to get help with 2 personal projects during the class, right? You'll get to know your classmates, which is huge, right? You join Harvard. One of the best things about Harvard is the people you meet, right? So you're going to get to know your classmates in this as well. Believe me, there's some very interesting people that join our classes. I've met so many different hedge fund managers and investment professionals and really, really amazing people. So you'll get to know all of them as well. All right. And then in case you want to get into the industry, we'll also give you resume and interview prep if you need help with that. All right. Okay. And then there's our premium plan. If you really want to knock this stuff out of the park and you want to get some help, it's $7,095. Again, 3 and 5 month payment plans are available. This includes everything from self-directed. It also includes the live classes that are coming up. And then we'll also help you build a custom project. That's like kind of the key here. If you want access to our software engineers, our development team, we can actually build things for you, right? We actually build out these strategies for you. Yeah. And you get 10 hours of either one-on-one video time or time with our development team that we can actually build this stuff for you, right? Okay, so if you're interested, when is the next live class starting? Like I said, this is our most popular plan. You click on here, it'll take you down, and our next class starts. Registration closes on September 17th, and the class starts on September 24th. So in about a month from now, right? So almost exactly a month from now, we're going to be starting this course. It's 8 weeks long. It's going to be every Sunday at 4 p.m. So basically exactly the same time that you joined today, you'll be able to join in. So if you're able to come today, you should be able to join then as well. It's usually about 2 hours. Sometimes we'll go to 3 hours on a lecture, depending on what we're going through. And because this class doesn't start for a month, you actually get a chance to save a bunch of money right now, right? So we have an early bird special going on right now. So basically you guys have early access to this. You could save 20% if you buy now instead of waiting all the way until before the class starts. So you can save 20% if you use this coupon code here, LAEBOX. All right, I'm going to type that into the chat. All right, so all you do is click on select course. You type in, actually, let me show you. Go here. All right, you'll select the course. And then this is another one. If you buy 2 classes together, you get a discount, by the way. But let's say here, we're only going to buy 1. Let me buy 2. Get to 1. And then if you type in this coupon here, you apply a coupon. Notice it goes from $5,000 down to $4,300. We're saving $1,000. So if you want to sign up in the next 4 days, you're going to save yourself $1,000, right? Cool. All right. So those plans. We also have another plan if you guys are interested. This is something new that we're starting to do. I'm trying to figure out how to incorporate it into our presentations like this. We have a new plan right now too that I think you guys will really like. And it is called our all course access plan. And let me share this link with you. Okay. Our all course access plan is one heck of a deal, right? Basically, you guys can read through the page if you want, right? But basically, it's going to give you access to all of our classes, right? So not just this class, the options class, but also our algo class, our machine learning AI class, our crypto class, and a bunch of other stuff, right? You're going to get access to all those classes. They're up here, right? And you get access to all of them, right? Self-directed version of them. And think about this, if you bought them separately, right? If you bought this one, you know, right now we're talking about options, right? It's $3,000 by itself. And let's say you also want to join our algo training class. It's another $3,000. Let's say you also want to learn about our AI, right? Our machine learning stuff. It's another $3,000. That's $9,000 in total if you want to take those 3 classes, right? And all very good. We've been developing these things over a long time period, right? So that's going to give you a lot of value, right? You're going to get, you know, a couple $1,000s worth of value there. If you include all the classes, you know, we have what, 6, 7 different classes, 6 times $3,000. That's something like $20,000, right? $20,000 in classes alone, right? You get all the same things. You get access to the code, you get access to the videos, you get access to all that stuff, right? Then on top of that, you also get access to our community, which we're building actually more and more stuff around this. More specifically, it's this thing that we're calling our, and I actually don't see it on here. Yeah, we need to add this to the page. Oh, there it is. Okay. Access to our live algorithm hour. I think we should actually make this stand out more, because if you look at our live algo hour, I spoke about this earlier today, right? Basically every week we go and build new algorithms. Every Tuesday night, we'll go in and build a new algorithm. Some of the algorithms I showed you today, we actually build during live algo hour. We have a lot of really smart people in there, and just every week we're building something new, we're researching, we're trying new things, right? That is alone $200 a month, right? So we're talking about something like $20,000 worth of courses, plus a $200 a month plan. Okay, how much do you guys think this will cost? Right, what do you think that will cost? You know, it's like $20,000 plus $200 a month, right? We're not going to charge you anywhere near that, right? We're not going to charge you $20,000, not even close, right? If you want to join in on this all course access plan, we're selling it for only $500 a month, right? So one heck of a deal. You don't get the live classes. If you want to join the live classes, that's a separate thing. But if you want to get these self-directed classes, $500 a month, you get to access all of them. You get access to all the future recordings of all of them. You get access to all the code that we're developing and all the future code we build. You get to be part of our live algo hour, which we're building a new algorithm every week, right? $20,000 worth of courses plus $200 a month worth of live algo hour for only $500 a month. Amazing, right? You guys can cancel whenever you want. There's no commitment, right? And I'm hoping that you guys join and you become a part of our community over the long run, and we all build this stuff together, right? So if you're interested in that all course access plan, like I said, this is a new thing we're doing. Check it out. I think this is a great way to get involved, right? Cool. All right, and that's basically all of our plans here, the different ways that you guys can learn more about this. And that's pretty much everything for my presentation. Any further questions? What questions do you guys still have for me after this? You guys have been pretty good. You've been asking questions throughout. But let me know, is there any other things on your mind? What did you guys think about this presentation? Is there anything else I can clear up? I'll give you guys a little bit of time. You guys can type it out. Because this is Zoom, you can even turn on your microphones and ask as well. That's fine by me. There you go. We had one person. All right. So yeah, go for it. If you have a question, just let me know. I saw someone unmute for a second and you back up again. So I'm not sure what happened there. All right. If you guys want to speak, you got to unmute your microphones, right? Or type out your questions. All right. Cool. Okay, so we got a question here. So the question is, who owns IP for a strategy that a student of the course comes up with? The IP belongs to basically all of us that are in the class, right? So we all get a chance to own that. That's a very good question, right? If a student comes up with something during the class, I mean, you're doing it live during class, right? Like it's kind of hard to conceal that because a lot of people have access to that. So if you have some very, very secretive strategy, then we can do that off to the side. We don't have to do that during a live class, right? We have, like I said, software engineers that can do this. We have a whole team that can build this for you. So if you have a very proprietary strategy, you can do it that way. It doesn't have to be part of the class environment. But if you're doing this part of the class environment, then everyone's going to see it. So it's kind of hard to contain that, right? So, but it is an advantage, right? Because I think a lot of people, they'll come into this and thinking that they have this super amazing strategy. And then we start getting to know other people, you see that everyone kind of has really good strategies too. And when we all work together, we tend to come up with much better stuff together, right? So there is that. But again, sometimes people have like really proprietary stuff. If you want to do that, we can do that on the side and just build that for you. Okay, there's another question here. Is there a way you can show where you run the code? Well, I run it inside of Visual Studio Code. That's what I prefer doing. So here is that options selling put strategy, right? You also saw it, Neil doing this in the videos, right? You basically have the code here, you hit run, it's running off my computer, and there we go, right? I can also run in Replit. Option strategies are a little harder to run in the cloud, but it's still possible. Here's a few of my other strategies that I have running. You'll see here, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different strategies that I have running live in Replit. So if I go into this one here, here's my code, right? My code here, and then I basically push a start or stop button, right? That's how I do it. But Replit's not the only one. This is open source, like I mentioned before. You can really do this anywhere, right? That's the advantage of open source in Python. You're not tied to a specific platform, right? You're not being forced to use something, and if they decide to shut down, you're screwed. Or if they want to steal your code, there's all that stuff. That's not going to happen with us, as it's open source. You're doing this on your own accord. You could do it wherever the heck you want, right? We provide this technology out for free. All right, another question here from Mark. Does one acquire any industry-wide recognition for demonstrating course material principles competency, testing, certification of subject competency? So that's actually a very good question, Mark. We don't do any kind of explicit testing right now. We don't have like a certification, although maybe we should, because we've been around for long enough. I think we can actually really thoroughly test if people have this ability or not. We don't currently do that, but if you do go through the class, you do end up getting a certificate by the end of the class, right? So you can say, I've completed this class with Lumi Wealth. A lot of people have actually used this to get jobs. It's surprising how many people I've seen get very well-paid jobs after going through our classes. I could tell you one of our recent students, Latoya, where'd she get her job again? I think it was JP Morgan, or like a pretty big financial company, and she's doing quite well there. Increased her salary quite significantly. I can think of another person that recently got a job at Goldman Sachs, right? So yeah, so definitely. I'll be honest with you, like we do provide certifications, or sorry, we do provide, a certificate saying you complete the class. But I think when you're going through a job situation, it's really more about what you could show them what you did, right? And you taking all the stuff that you learn in class and taking the algorithms that we have and showing that to people, I think that would be very, very impressive. I bet you if you went to a job interview at Goldman Sachs or something like that, showed them you ran this option strategy, automated this stuff, and calculated things and all that, they'd be really impressed, especially if you're starting to use machine learning and things like that in it, which we spend a lot of time building ourselves as well, right? So yeah, so we don't have like a test where you go through, it's like the CFA or something like that. We don't do that currently. Maybe we should. But if you do go through our classes, you do get, basically a certificate saying you've completed this class. And then you also have all your stuff that you could show during interviews, right? And we also do like interview prep and all that kind of stuff if you need help with it too, right? So good question. Thank you, Mark. All right. So Avi says, I remember there's a gentleman from Cali teaching the Lumi Wealth algo, teaching with Lumi Wealth using Alpaca API. Yeah. So he still works with us. Greg is probably who you're thinking of. He teaches our machine learning class. Very, very smart guy. He went to UC Berkeley and what else? Stanford and a few other classes. He raised like 10 million bucks from investors. Really, really smart guy. Yeah, he teaches our artificial intelligence class. It's a good memory there, Avi. Cool. Any other questions, guys? These are good ones. Awesome. No problem, Avi. Very cool. All right. Well, if you guys do have, oh, there you go. Patrick says, can I schedule a 15 to 30 minutes of your time to speak privately someday soon? Yeah, sure. So Patrick, if you want to book a time with me here, I'm going to give you access to my personal calendar. Feel free to book a time on here. There's a link to my calendar. When you go in there, you'll see like all my availability. Whatever's available, just pick it and we can have a conversation. Just write a little note in there saying, what you want to talk about and that you were during this webinar. So just so I can clue in and kind of mentally prepare for it if there's any like specific questions you have. Right, but click on that link. It'll give you access to my calendar, and whatever's available that makes sense for you, just pick it and we can speak. All right. Cool. All right. Any other questions, guys? Yeah, no problem, Patrick. Very cool. All right. Well, this was fun. It was great having you guys here. You guys are all, I heard your experiences. I love all your backgrounds. It's fantastic. You guys are very clearly interested in all this stuff. I love that. I hope to see you guys during this class. Like I said, we have this discount right now. You get to save, what is it, 25% if you sign up in the next 4 days. So, take advantage of that to save some money. And hopefully I'll see you guys in the class. All right. Thank you very much, guys, and hope you have a great rest of the weekend. Later, guys.